It was a quiet night when Ethan sat alone in his small workshop, fixing an old radio transmitter that no one used anymore. He liked working with machines. They were easier to understand than people. Outside, the sky was full of stars, silent and endless, stretching far beyond his lonely little house. Ethan had always wondered what was out there, but he never expected the universe to answer him. It started with a strange sound, a soft pulse coming from the old transmitter. At first, he thought it was just static, but then he heard it again. A pattern, a rhythm, like a heartbeat. Curious, he turned the dial and adjusted the frequency. The sound grew louder until, through the static, he heard something that made his heart stop. It was a voice. It wasn't human. It was calm, smooth, and somehow inside his mind. The words weren't clear, but he could swear it said his name. Ethan froze. He looked around his empty room, trying to laugh it off, but the voice came again, this time clearer, stronger, and closer. "Ethan, you are chosen." The words echoed in his head. His hand shook as he switched off the transmitter, but the voice didn't stop. It was like it had entered his mind directly. Suddenly, all the lights in his workshop flickered, and a cold wind swept through the room even though the windows were closed. The radio glowed faintly blue, and then everything went silent. For the next few nights, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, silver towers, burning skies, and a shadowy figure wearing a crown of light. The dreams felt too real, and every morning he woke up sweating and breathless. He told himself it was just his imagination. But deep inside, he knew something was calling him. One night, the signal returned. Louder, stronger. The same voice whispered his name, again and again, until he couldn't take it anymore. He stepped outside, looking at the night sky. Then he saw it, a bright blue light moving across the stars, faster than anything he had ever seen. It stopped right above his house. The air around him changed. The world seemed to hold its breath. The light grew brighter until it covered everything. Ethan tried to run, but his body wouldn't move. It was like time had stopped. His heart pounded as the light wrapped around him, lifting him off the ground. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. In the next instant, the world around him disappeared. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was no longer on Earth. He was lying inside a glass-like chamber, floating in a soft blue mist. His body felt heavy, his mind dizzy. He pressed his hand against the glass, and it slowly opened with a whisper. Cold air rushed in. He stepped out, trembling, trying to understand where he was. The place looked like something out of a dream, or a nightmare. The floor was made of black metal that reflected the stars outside. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Through a large window, he could see space, endless, dark, and beautiful. Then he heard footsteps. 2 tall figures in black armor appeared, their faces hidden behind shining helmets. They didn't speak. One of them pointed toward a long corridor, and without a word, Ethan followed. His heart raced as they walked through a massive hall filled with blue light and alien energy humming through the air. At the end of the corridor, he saw it, a throne made of silver stone and strange carvings that seemed alive. And sitting on it was a woman unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight. Her hair was silver white, flowing around her like light itself. Her eyes were cold and bright, watching him carefully. She wore a dark suit that looked like it was made from living metal. She was beautiful, but her presence made the air heavy, almost sacred. Ethan didn't know whether to kneel or run. He just stood there, frozen. The woman spoke, and her voice echoed inside his mind, not his ears. "Do not fear, human. You were brought here for a reason." Ethan tried to speak, but no words came out. The queen stood, her steps slow but powerful. She looked at him as if she could see right through him. "You received my call," she said. "Few can hear it. Few will survive it. But you were chosen." Ethan took a deep breath. "Why me?" he finally managed to ask. His voice trembled. The queen tilted her head, studying him. "Because your world is not what you think. Something hidden there's killing mine. You will return and find it." Her words made no sense, yet something in her tone felt true. He wanted to ask more, but the air around him started to vibrate. His vision blurred. The queen raised a hand, and a glowing symbol appeared on his forehead, burning softly. "Find the source," she whispered. "And remember, Ethan, if you fail, both our worlds will fall." The chamber began to fade, her image dissolving into light. The last thing he saw was her glowing eyes watching him as everything turned white. Then, suddenly, Ethan was back in his room. The radio was silent, the light steady, everything normal again. For a moment, he thought it was all a dream, until he looked at his hand. There, on his skin, the same symbol from the Queen's touch was glowing faintly blue. He stared at it, his heart racing. The signal was gone, but deep in his mind, her voice still whispered, "You are chosen." And Ethan knew nothing would ever be the same again. Ethan woke up with a loud gasp, his body shaking. He was lying on the floor of his room, still wearing the same clothes. For a moment, he thought maybe he had dreamed it all, the light, the ship, the Queen. But when he looked at his hand, the mark was still there, glowing softly under his skin. He stared at it, breathing heavily. "What are you?" he whispered to himself. The mark pulsed once, almost like it heard him. Then it stopped glowing, leaving a faint outline. Ethan tried to tell himself it was just his imagination, maybe some kind of stress hallucination. But deep down, he knew the truth. The Queen was real. The next few days were strange. Everywhere Ethan went, he felt like someone was watching him. The streetlights flickered when he walked past. The radio in his car turned on by itself, whispering strange words in that same alien tone. Even his dreams changed. He saw stars burning, planets collapsing, and the Queen's face, calm and cold, looking straight into his soul. One night, he sat by the window, unable to sleep. He looked at the stars, searching for that blue light again. The world outside was silent. Then suddenly, the mark on his hand began to glow again. A cold wind filled the room. The same light that had taken him before appeared outside, brighter this time. Ethan tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. The light grew until it covered everything again. When it faded, he was no longer in his house. He stood on a bridge made of crystal, surrounded by floating orbs of light. Beneath him was nothing but endless space, dark, beautiful, full of stars. Ahead of him was a giant gate shaped like two wings. They opened slowly with a deep, echoing sound. Ethan walked forward, his heart pounding. He entered a massive chamber filled with blue energy and tall silver pillars. The air felt heavy, almost alive. Strange symbols floated in the air like smoke. At the center of the room was a throne he had seen before, carved from black metal and glowing veins of silver. And there she was again, the alien Queen. She sat gracefully, her eyes glowing faintly, her silver hair shimmering under the strange light. Two armored guards stood behind her, silent and still. Ethan's legs trembled, but he forced himself to walk closer. The Queen's gaze followed his every step. When he finally stopped a few feet away, she spoke, not with her mouth, but with her mind. "You came back." Her voice echoed inside his head. Ethan swallowed hard. "I didn't have a choice," he said softly. The Queen stood from her throne. Her movements were slow, almost like she was floating. "No one has a choice, Ethan. Not you. Not me." Her words sent a chill down his spine. He wanted to ask what she meant, but before he could, she raised a hand and the floor beneath them changed. The metallic ground turned transparent, showing a planet below, red, cracked, dying. Rivers of fire ran across its surface. Ethan stared in shock. "What is that?" he whispered. "My world," the Queen replied. Her voice grew softer, sadder. It was once full of life. Now it is falling apart. Ethan looked at her, confused. "Why are you showing me this?" The Queen's eyes darkened. "Because your world did this." Ethan's heart skipped. "Earth!" She nodded. "Long ago, something left your planet, a source of power beyond your understanding. It poisoned the stars. My people are dying because of it. You will go back and find it." Ethan shook his head, taking a step back. "I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just a man. I fix machines. I can't save a planet." The Queen looked at him with a strange, unreadable expression. "You are more than you think," she said. "There is a reason you heard my call." You carry something inside you, a connection to both our worlds." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, she extended her hand. A beam of light surrounded him, showing flashes of images, a burning laboratory, scientists running, a child crying inside a glass chamber. The child's eyes glowed blue. Then the image vanished. Ethan gasped. "What was that?" "The past," the Queen answered. "Your past." Ethan's mind spun. He couldn't believe what he saw. "No," he said. "That can't be me." The Queen stepped closer, her face inches from his. Her eyes were calm but full of power. "Go back, Ethan. Find the source. You are the key to everything." He felt her hand touch his forehead. A cold energy shot through his body, and his vision blurred. "Wait!" he shouted. "What if I refuse?" The Queen's voice echoed softly, almost like a whisper in the wind. "Then your planet will share my world's fate." Before he could reply, everything around him started to fade again. The throne room dissolved into light, and he felt himself falling through the stars. When he opened his eyes, he was back on Earth, this time in the middle of a deserted field. The night sky above him shimmered with faint blue sparks. He looked at his hand. The mark was now glowing brighter than ever. Ethan stood, breathing hard, confused and terrified. The Queen's words repeated in his mind over and over. "You are the key." The wind blew softly, and far in the distance, a strange hum filled the air, like the sound of the alien signal returning. Ethan knew then that his life was no longer his own. Whatever this mission was, it had already begun. Ethan stood in the open field for a long time, staring at the sky. The blue glow had faded, and the world seemed silent again. But he could still feel her, the Queen, somewhere in the back of his mind. Every breath he took, every beat of his heart, carried her voice like a faint echo. He walked slowly toward the small town nearby. Everything looked normal. Cars passing, people talking, lights glowing the windows. Yet, to Ethan, nothing felt normal anymore. The mark on his hand still shimmered softly, pulsing with a quiet rhythm. It was like it had become a part of him. He went home and locked the door behind him. The radio sat on his desk, silent now, but he didn't dare touch it. He just sat there, staring at it, waiting for the voice to return. Hours passed. The world outside was quiet, but inside his mind, he felt like something was watching, something ancient and powerful. Then, just before dawn, the voice returned. It was softer this time, but clear. "Ethan, the time is short. The source must be found." Ethan jumped to his feet. "What is the source?" he asked out loud, his voice trembling. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then, images began to appear in his mind. A dark cave, blue crystals glowing, strange machines humming with energy. He saw people in white suits, scientists working underground, and in the center of it all, a pulsing blue light, alive, breathing, dangerous. He fell to his knees, gasping. The vision ended. When he opened his eyes, his whole body was shaking. He didn't understand what he had just seen, but he knew one thing. It was real. The Queen was showing him something that existed here, on Earth. Later that morning, Ethan searched online for anything that matched what he saw. He typed underground lab, blue energy, alien signal. Nothing made sense, but one news article caught his eye. It talked about a government project shut down years ago. Project Helios, a secret energy experiment that was abandoned after several unexplained deaths. The location was only a few hours away from his town. Ethan stared at the screen, his pulse racing. "That must be it," he whispered. "That's where it started." He packed a small bag and left before the sun came up. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. On the road, the mark on his hand glowed again, as if it was guiding him. Sometimes he heard the Queen's voice, faint and distant, whispering, "You are close." By evening, he reached the outskirts of a restricted area surrounded by tall fences and warning signs. The old research facility stood silent beyond the gate, covered in vines and dust. Ethan climbed over the fence and walked toward the entrance. Inside, everything was dark. The air smelled of metal and decay. Broken computers and rusted machines lay scattered across the floor. As he moved deeper, the lights flickered for a second, and then To his shock, the walls began to glow faintly blue, like veins waking up after years of sleep. He followed the glow down a corridor that led underground. The deeper he went, the louder a humming sound became. It wasn't mechanical. It felt alive, almost like breathing. Finally, he reached a huge chamber. In the center stood a massive crystal sphere, floating in the air, glowing with the same blue light he had seen in his vision. The source. Ethan stepped closer. His hand trembled as he reached out, feeling waves of energy pushing against him. It was powerful, almost like it recognized him. Then, suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around. A woman stood there, holding a flashlight. She looked about 30, wearing a dusty lab coat and carrying a small data tablet. "Who are you?" Ethan asked quickly. She stared at him, surprised. "I could ask you the same thing," she said. "No one's supposed to be here." "My name's Ethan," he said carefully. I think this place is connected to something not from Earth." The woman's face changed. "You shouldn't know that," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "So, it's true. You worked here?" She nodded slowly. "I used to. My name is Dr. Meyer." He noticed her hand shaking. She looked scared. "What happened here?" Ethan asked. She hesitated, then looked at the glowing sphere. "This," she said quietly, "is not energy. It's a living thing. We found it buried deep beneath the surface. We thought it could power the world. But it started changing us." Ethan's eyes widened. "Changing you?" Maya nodded. "It speaks. It shows things. It connects to your mind." She looked straight at him. "It's been calling for someone. We thought it wanted to destroy us, but maybe it wanted you." Ethan's heart pounded. "Why me?" Before Maya could answer, the mark on his hand began to glow again, brighter than ever. The sphere reacted instantly, pulsing with light. The entire room shook. Maya screamed, covering her face. Ethan tried to step back, but a beam of light shot out from the sphere, hitting his chest. He fell to the ground, clutching his head as visions flooded his mind. The Queen, her dying world, the red skies, and her voice echoing over everything. "You have found it. Now, you must decide its fate." Ethan gasped, feeling both pain and power rushing through him. The Queen's voice faded, leaving only silence. Maya knelt beside him, terrified. What did she say? Ethan looked at her, his eyes glowing faintly blue. His voice was quiet, but filled with fear. "She wants me to choose whether to save them or destroy us." Ethan woke up lying on the cold floor of the abandoned facility. His body ached, his head throbbed, and the memory of what had just happened felt like a half-remembered dream. The glowing sphere, the source, was still floating in the air, pulsing softly, but the light had dimmed. Dr. Meyer sat nearby, staring at him with wide, frightened eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound in the room was a low hum coming from source. Ethan slowly pushed himself up, his hand shaking. The mark on his skin was burning, brighter than before. It almost looked alive. "What did she do to you?" Maya asked quietly. Ethan tried to answer, but his voice was rough and weak. "She showed me things. Her world. Her people dying." He looked down at his hand. "She wants me to use this thing, but I don't even know what it is." Maya stood, keeping her distance. "It's not just an object," she said. "It reacts to emotion, to thought. When we first activated it, it read our minds. It knew what we feared." Ethan stared at the sphere. "Then it knows everything about me." Maya nodded. "Maybe that's why it chose you." Ethan felt a chill run through him. He wanted to believe this was all some kind of nightmare, but the throbbing mark on his hand kept reminding him it was real. The Queen's words echoed inside his head. "If you fail, both our world will fall." He turned toward Maya. "You said it connects to the mind. Can it communicate?" Maya hesitated. "Yes, but it's dangerous. It can pull you in. People who tried never came back the same." Ethan took a step closer to the source. The air around it shimmered, like heat waves. "Maybe that's the only way I can understand what she really wants." Maya grabbed his arm. "Don't. You don't know what it will do to you. Ethan looked at her, calm but determined. I think she already decided that. He reached out, his fingers brushing the blue light. The world around him vanished. Suddenly, he was standing in a vast empty plain under a blood-red sky. The ground was cracked and dry, the air heavy with smoke. In the distance, he saw the Queen's palace, the same throne room he had seen before. He walked toward it, feeling no fear this time. When he entered, the alien Queen was waiting, sitting on her dark throne. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. You found the source, she said. Now you see the truth. Ethan frowned. You never told me what it really is. The Queen stood slowly. It is life itself, the energy that connects all worlds. Long ago, your people took a fragment of it and hid it on your planet. That fragment grew unstable, and now it's killing everything, here and there. Ethan's mind raced. So, if I destroy it, your world dies. But if I keep it here, mine will die too. The Queen nodded. Balance must be restored. You were chosen to decide which world survives. Ethan stared at her, horrified. That's not a choice. That's a curse. The Queen's voice softened. You are part of both worlds, Ethan. That is why the source listens to you. Her words confuse him. Part of both? What do you mean? The Queen stepped closer, her face unreadable. Your parents were not who you think they were. You were born of human and alien blood. You belong to both sides. Ethan's breath caught. No, that can't be true. You feel it, she said gently. That is why you heard my call when no one else could. The ground beneath them trembled. The Queen looked up. The red sky above the palace cracked with lightning. Time is running out, she said. The source is unstable. If you do not act, both worlds will die. Ethan shook his head. There has to be another way. The Queen reached out, touching his face. There's always another way, but it demands a sacrifice. Before he could ask what she meant, the vision shattered. Ethan gasped and fell backward onto the cold floor of the facility. Maya was shaking him, yelling his name. Ethan, wake up. He opened his eyes, breathing hard. The source was pulsing faster now, sending out waves of blue light that made the walls vibrate. What happened? Maya shouted over the noise. Ethan sat up, clutching his head. It's unstable. If it explodes, it'll destroy everything. Maya ran to the control panel, trying to shut it down, but the power surged and the screen shattered. Sparks flew everywhere. It's not responding, she screamed. Ethan staggered to his feet. The Queen's words echoed again, a sacrifice. He looked at the glowing core and then at Maya. I think I know how to stop it, he said quietly. Maya turned, horrified. No, whatever you're thinking. He smiled weakly. You said it reacts to thought and emotion, right? Maybe if I connect to it fully, I can calm it down. That could kill you, she cried. Maybe, he said. But if I don't, it'll kill everyone. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the source. Blue light wrapped around him like smoke. His body lifted off the ground. His eyes glowed the same color as a crystal. Maya watched helplessly, tears in her eyes. Ethan's voice echoed through the room, calm and distant. If this works, tell them I tried. The light grew so bright it filled the entire chamber. The walls shook, the machines melted, and then silence. When the light faded, Ethan was gone. The source floated quietly again, now glowing steady and soft. Maya looked around a ruined room, whispering his name. Then, from somewhere deep inside the sphere, a faint heartbeat echoed. Slow, steady, alive. Maya gasped, realizing what it meant. Ethan wasn't dead. He was inside. For several hours, Dr. Maya stood in the silent laboratory, staring at the glowing sphere floating before her. The destruction around her looked like a storm had passed through, broken machines, cracked walls, and a faint layer of smoke drifting in the air. But the source was calm now, glowing softly like a quiet ocean. Maya's eyes were red from crying. Ethan, she whispered. Her voice trembled. Where are you? No one answered. Only the faint hum of the sphere filled the room. She placed her hand on its surface. It felt warm, almost like skin. Then, for a split second, she heard something, a heartbeat, and inside her head, a faint voice whispered her name. Maya. She stepped back, gasping. The voice was his. Ethan. She looked at the sphere, shocked. You're alive. The voice came again, softer this time. I'm here. I stopped it, but I can't get out. Tears rolled down her face. I'll find a way, I promise, she said. But even as she spoke, she wasn't sure she could. Maya turned toward the exit, determined to contact someone who could help. But as soon as she reached the door, she froze. There were footsteps coming from the hallway, heavy, slow, metallic. She quickly hid behind a control console as two soldiers entered the room. They wore black suits with strange insignias on their arms. Behind them walked a tall man in a dark coat, his face hidden in shadow. He looked around the room, eyes landing on the glowing sphere. So this is where it ended, he said in a low voice. One of the soldiers asked, What are your orders, sir? The man stepped closer to the source. Contain it. If it resists, destroy it. Maya's heart raced. Destroy it? That meant killing Ethan. She had to stop them. She stood from a hiding place, shouting, Wait! The soldiers turned their guns toward her instantly. The man raised a hand. Lower your weapons, he said calmly. He walked up to Maya, studying her face. Dr. Maya Lorne, I was wondering if you survived. Maya frowned. You know who I am. He gave a small smile. Of course. You worked for us once, before you disappeared with Project Helios data. Her eyes widened. You're with the government. Not exactly, he said. Let's just say, I'm with the people who tried to control the source before it got out of hand. Maya shook her head. You don't understand. The source isn't a weapon. It's alive, and there's someone inside it now. The man raised an eyebrow. Someone. His name is Ethan, she said quickly. Is communicating through it. Please, you can't destroy it. The man looked at the sphere for a long moment. Then he said quietly, If someone is inside, he's already dead. You know what this thing does. Doctor, it consumes everything it touches. Maya stepped in front of the sphere, blocking his view. No, he saved both worlds. I heard him. He's still alive. The man sighed, looking almost tired. You always were emotional, Maya. That's why you were never trusted with command. He turned to the soldiers. Take her. Before they could move, the sphere suddenly pulsed, once, twice, and then exploded with light. Everyone in the room shielded their eyes. A powerful wave of energy knocked the soldiers to the ground. The lights flickered and sparks filled the air. When Maya opened her eyes, Ethan was standing there, alive, breathing, surrounded by blue light. His eyes glowed faintly, his skin marked with strange symbols. The soldiers froze, staring at him in shock. Ethan looked confused for a second, then his gaze fell on Maya. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. You're back, she said, crying. He hugged her back, his voice soft. I told you I'd try. The man in the coat stepped forward slowly, clapping once. Impressive, he said. So the experiment survived after all. Ethan looked at him warily. Who are you? The man smiled coldly. Someone who understands power. You connected with the source. That means you can control it. I don't want to control it, Ethan said sharply. It's dangerous. The man tilted his head. Dangerous? Maybe. But imagine what it could do if used correctly. Limitless energy. No more hunger. No more war. Ethan frowned. Or endless destruction. That's what it nearly caused. The man's smile faded. If you won't help willingly, we'll take it from you. He raised his hand, and the soldiers pointed their weapons. Ethan's eyes glowed brighter. You don't want to do that, he warned. One of the soldiers fired. The bullet stopped midair, frozen by a wall of blue energy. Ethan barely moved. The power flowed through him effortlessly. With a wave of his hand, the guns melted like wax. The soldiers stumbled back, terrified. Maya looked at him in shock. Ethan, what did it do to you? He looked down at his glowing hands. It didn't just connect to me, he said quietly. It became part of me. The man took a cautious step back, studying him. Then you really are the bridge between worlds. Ethan's expression hardened. If you come near this place again, I won't hold back. The man hesitated, then smiled faintly. This isn't over. Ethan, you can't run from what you become. He turned and walked out, his voice echoing through the hall. Sooner or later, you'll realize the Queen didn't save you. She used you. Those words froze Ethan where he stood. Used him? He looked at Maya, confused and afraid. What does he mean? Maya shook her head. He's lying. Don't listen. But deep inside, Ethan wasn't sure. The Queen's voice had always been calm, distant, never truly kind. And now, for the first time, a small doubt entered his heart. What if the Queen's demand wasn't about saving anyone, but about control? The night outside was cold and quiet. The air smelled of smoke and metal as Ethan and Maya walked out of the ruined base, their clothes covered in dust. Behind them, the source floated silently, glowing faintly in the dark sky like a second moon. It followed Ethan, almost as if it were alive, like it could feel his heartbeat. They stopped near the forest. Maya looked up at him. What did he mean? She asked softly. About the Queen using you. Ethan shook his head. I don't know, but it's been in my mind since I came back. They built a small campfire. The flames danced, throwing golden light on their tired faces. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan finally said, When I was inside the source, I saw things. Not just the Queen, but other beings. Shadows. They were watching me. Maya frowned. You mean other aliens? Maybe, Ethan said. Or something worse. The Queen said she wanted peace, but now, I think she was hiding something. She said I was chosen to connect both worlds. But what if that connection lets her control this one? Maya's heart sank. You think she wants to invade Earth? Ethan looked into the fire. I think it's already started. Just then, a low hum filled the air, a strange vibration that made the ground tremble. Ethan stood up quickly, eyes scanning the dark forest. A bright blue light appeared between the trees, growing larger, brighter. Maya whispered, Is that them? The light split open like a crack in the sky. 3 tall figures stepped out, not human, not fully alien either. Their skin shimmered like glass, and their eyes glowed white. They didn't speak, but Ethan heard their voices inside his head. You carry the Queen's mark, one of them said. You are bound to her will. Ethan stepped forward. No, I broke free. No one breaks free, the voice said calmly. She gave you life again. You are hers to command. Maya stood behind him, terrified. Ethan, what do they want? He clenched his fists. They want me to return. The ground shook again as the source pulsed behind them, responding to the alien's presence. Ethan felt the energy rise inside him like a storm. Stay back, he shouted. But the figures moved closer. Their hands began to glow, releasing threads of blue energy toward him. They weren't attacking. They were trying to pull him in. Maya screamed, Ethan! He tried to resist, but the pull was strong. Images flashed in his mind. The Queen's eyes, the golden palace, the endless stars. Then her voice echoed deep inside him. Ethan, return to me. He fell to his knees, gripping his head. Get out of my mind, he shouted. The fire flickered wildly, and the source behind him exploded with light. The pull broke. The 3 alien figures stumbled back, their forms flickering like static. Ethan stood up slowly, his eyes glowing bright blue. Tell your Queen, he said, his voice echoing like thunder. I'm not her servant anymore. The aliens looked at each other, then vanished, fading into mist. The forest fell silent again. Maya ran to him, breathing fast. Are you okay? He nodded weakly. I think so, but this isn't over. Maya looked at the source. Its glow had changed. Now it pulsed in rhythm with Ethan's heartbeat. It's connected to you permanently, isn't it? Yes, he said quietly. I can feel it. Every time I use the energy, it becomes stronger. Then what happens when it becomes too strong? She asked. Ethan didn't answer. Deep down, he already knew the truth. If he lost control, the source could destroy everything around him. They stayed in the forest that night, resting beside the dying fire. But Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the queen, standing in her silver throne room, her eyes cold and full of power. "You cannot run, Ethan," her voice whispered in his mind. "You are my creation." He woke with a start, breathing heavily. The forest was quiet again, but the whisper still echoed inside his head. By morning, they were on the move again. They decided to head toward an old observatory in the mountains, a place Maya once worked. She said there were devices that could detect cosmic frequencies, maybe even alien signals. If they could trace the Queen's energy, they might understand what she was planning. After a long day of walking, they reached the observatory. The building was half broken, covered in vines and dust. Inside, Maya reactivated the systems using a small generator. Screens flickered to life, showing streams of static and data. She began typing fast. "If I can tune into the source's frequency, maybe I can intercept whatever the Queen is sending." Ethan watched her work, then suddenly froze. On one of the screens, a symbol appeared, glowing and pulsing. It was the same mark the Queen had placed on his chest. Maya's eyes widened. "She's sending a message." Ethan leaned closer. "What does it say?" She decoded the pattern slowly. When she finished reading, her face turned pale. "It's a warning." Ethan frowned. "A warning?" She looked up at him. She says, "Prepare for my arrival." The room fell silent. The wind howled through the broken windows. Ethan clenched his fists, his heart pounding. "She's coming," he whispered. Maya looked at him, her voice shaking. "Then we have to stop her before it's too late." Ethan stared at the horizon, where the sun was setting behind the mountains. The glow of the source reflected in his eyes, calm yet dangerous. "If the Queen wants to come here," he said slowly, "then we'll be ready for her." But deep inside, a part of him still remembered her touch, her voice, her promise. And he couldn't help wondering, was she truly his enemy, or something far more complicated? The sky above the mountains turned red that night. Thick clouds rolled in like waves, glowing faintly with strange light. The air grew colder, and the earth trembled as if something powerful was awakening far beyond the stars. Ethan stood on the roof of the observatory, staring upward. His eyes glowed softly with the same blue light that pulsed from the source beside him. Maya stood behind him, clutching a small tablet showing energy readings. "It's getting stronger," she said nervously. "The signal's everywhere now. It's in the atmosphere, the oceans, even in our power grids." Ethan didn't look back. "She's close," he whispered. Maya walked beside him. "Ethan, we can still leave. If she's really coming, we need to go underground, hide until—" He turned sharply. "Hide? You think we can hide from her? She's not coming for Earth, Maya. She's coming for me." Maya's heart sank. "Then we'll find another way. There's to be one." Ethan shook his head. "You don't understand. When she brought me back, she put something inside me. A connection. I can feel her heartbeat in my mind. If she enters this world, she'll use me to open a full gateway, a bridge between her realm and ours." Maya looked at the source floating nearby. "Then we destroy it." Ethan hesitated. "If we destroy it, I'd die with it." Silence filled the air. The fire from their camp crackled faintly, the only sound between them. Maya's eyes glistened. "There has to be another way," she said softly. Before Ethan could answer, the observatory lights flickered. The air around them began to vibrate, low at first, then louder. Outside, streaks of blue light shot down from the sky, hitting the mountains. The ground shook violently. Maya screamed, "She's here!" Ethan turned toward the horizon. The clouds were swirling into a massive spiral. At the center, a bright beam of silver light descended slowly, touching the earth. The wind howled like a storm, and from within the light, a figure appeared. She was tall, graceful, and terrifyingly beautiful. The alien queen. Her armor shimmered like liquid silver, her eyes glowing white with power. She hovered above the ground, surrounded by energy so strong it distorted the air. Ethan felt his knees weaken. "It's her," he whispered. Maya stepped closer to him. "Ethan, Whatever happens, don't let her take you." The Queen's voice echoed across the sky, soft yet commanding. "Ethan, my chosen one, why do you resist me?" Ethan stepped forward, shouting against the roaring wind. "You lied to me. You said you wanted peace, but you're planning to take over this world." The Queen's eyes softened, almost like she pitied him. "You misunderstand. Your world is dying. I offer salvation." "Salvation?" Ethan shouted. "By controlling us." "By saving you from yourselves," she replied calmly. "Your species destroys everything it touches. I can fix that. You and I, together, can reshape this planet into perfection." Maya grabbed his arm. "Don't listen to her, Ethan. She's manipulating you." Ethan hesitated. The Queen raised her hand, and the source beside him floated toward her, glowing brighter. "You belong to me," she said softly. "You were made from my essence. You are my creation." Ethan's heart raced. He could feel her power pulling at him, calling to something deep inside his soul. His body trembled as a blue glow on his chest began to burn. Maya shouted, "Fight it, Ethan. You're not hers." He clenched his fists, trying to resist. The connection between him and the Queen pulsed violently, sending waves of energy through the air. Lightning cracked across the sky. "You cannot deny what you are," the Queen said, her voice calm but cold. "You are the bridge, the key that will unite our worlds." "Then maybe I'll break the bridge," Ethan said through gritted teeth. He focused his mind, trying to control the energy within him. The source flickered, its light dimming for a moment. The Queen's expression changed. Anger flickered in her eyes. "Do not challenge me," she thundered. The ground split beneath her feet, and shockwaves rippled across the mountains. Maya was thrown back, hitting the ground hard. "Ethan!" she cried. Ethan dropped to one knee, struggling to hold the power inside. "If I can destroy the source," he gasped, "I can stop her from crossing over." Maya's voice shook. "But it'll kill you." He looked at her with a sad smile. "Maybe that's the only way." The Queen extended her hand. "Stop this, Ethan. I can make you whole again. You were born of light, not pain. Come back to me." Her voice softened. It wasn't commanding now. It was almost gentle, almost loving. For a brief second, Ethan felt the warmth of her presence, the same comfort he felt when she first saved him. His resolve wavered. Maya saw it and shouted, "She's using your memories. That's not love, Ethan. That's control." Ethan looked from Maya to the Queen. His heart tore between them, between two worlds. "I can't," he whispered. The Queen's face grew sad. "Then you leave me no choice." She raised her arms. The sky exploded with light. A massive portal opened above her, swirling with energy. Ethan screamed as the connection between them grew stronger, almost unbearable. The source cracked, releasing blinding flashes of power. Maya ran toward him, shouting his name, but the wind was too strong. Ethan looked at her one last time and whispered, "Tell them I tried." Then, with all his strength, he pulled the energy inward, not to control it, but to destroy it. A deafening explosion filled the air. The portal shattered, and light engulfed the world. For a moment, everything was silent. No wind, no sound, just peace. When the light faded, the Queen was gone. The source had vanished. And Ethan was lying motionless on the ground. Maya crawled to his side, shaking. "Ethan, wake up, please." His chest still glowed faintly, the mark slowly fading. She held his hand tightly, tears falling onto his face. The sky cleared, revealing a calm dawn. The battle was over. Or at least, it seemed to be. As Maya cried quietly, she didn't notice the small spark of blue light that drifted from Ethan's chest and floated into the air, vanishing toward the rising sun. Somewhere, far beyond the stars, the Queen opened her eyes again and smiled. The world was quiet after the light. The mountains stood still, covered in a faint silver mist that glowed softly under the early morning sun. The air felt heavy but peaceful, like the planet itself was finally resting after a long storm. Maya sat beside Ethan's body for hours. She didn't move, didn't speak. The only sound was a gentle wind brushing through the trees. His face looked calm, almost like he was sleeping. "You saved everyone," she whispered. "You saved me." Her voice broke. She looked up at the empty sky where the portal had once been. The colors were clear again, no red clouds, no strange lights. The queen was gone. But deep inside, Maya knew this wasn't the end. She stood slowly, wiping her tears. "I'll finish what you started," she said quietly. She gathered what remained of the source's fragments, small shards of blue crystal glowing faintly on the ground. Each piece pulsed softly, as if alive. She placed them in a metal container, then took Ethan's locket, the one he always wore, and hung it around her neck. For the next few weeks, Maya stayed in the observatory. She repaired broken systems and studied the fragments day and night. Every shard seemed to hum with the same frequency, Ethan's heartbeat. Sometimes, late at night, she heard faint whispers from the crystals, a voice she knew too well. "Maya, keep going." It always faded quickly, like an echo, but it gave her strength. One evening, as she examined a large shard under the scanner, the lights flickered. The computer began flashing strange patterns across the screen. At first, she thought it was a malfunction until she realized the code wasn't random. It was a message. Maya froze, staring at the words forming slowly on the monitor. "If you're reading this, I'm still here." Her heart raced. She whispered, "Ethan." The screen flickered again. "The queen didn't kill me. She hid me inside the source." Maya covered her mouth, her eyes wide. "You're alive." "Not alive," the message continued. "Not the way you remember. I'm between worlds. But I can still see you." She could barely breathe. Tears filled her eyes again. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew you wouldn't leave me." "Maya," the words appeared. "The queen isn't gone. She's rebuilding her power. The explosion cut her off from this world, but she's waiting, on the edge of time. If she returns, she'll need a new bridge. You must destroy the remaining fragments before she finds them." Maya looked at the glowing container beside her. There were 7 shards inside, all humming quietly. "If I destroy them, will you disappear too?" The screen paused for a moment before replying. "Yes, but it's the only way to stop her." Maya shook her head, crying harder. "No, I can't lose you again. There's to be another way." "There isn't," Ethan's message said. "You have to be strong, stronger than I was. I gave my life for this world. Now, you must protect it." Maya's hands trembled. "I can't do it alone." "You're not alone," the words glowed softly. "You never were." The screen went dark. She sat there for a long time, unable to move. Then, slowly, she stood and looked at the container of fragments. The glow was growing brighter, almost as if they knew what she was about to do. She carried them outside, to the cliff overlooking the mountains. The wind was strong, blowing through her hair. She placed the container on the ground and took out Ethan's locket. "Goodbye, Ethan," she whispered. "I'll keep your promise." She opened the container and smashed the first shard with a metal rod. It shattered into light. Then the second, then the third. Each one exploded into a beautiful burst of blue energy that faded into the air like fireflies. By the time she reached the last one, her hands were shaking. "This is for you," she said softly. She raised the rod, but before she struck, she heard a faint whisper behind her. "Maya." She froze. The voice was soft, warm, familiar. She turned around and saw him. Ethan stood a few steps away, glowing faintly like the shards. He looked peaceful, smiling. "You did it," he said. "You stopped her." Tears streamed down her face. "Ethan, is it really you?" He nodded. "Just a part of me. The last part." She stepped closer, afraid he'd vanish. "I don't want to say goodbye." He reached out, touching her cheek. His hand felt warm, real. "Then don't. I'll always be with you. Every time the stars shine, every time you feel the wind, that's me watching over you." Her lips trembled. "I love you." He smiled. "I know." The wind picked up, carrying small sparks of blue light into the sky. Ethan began to fade slowly. "Wait!" she cried, reaching out. "Please don't go." He smiled one last time. "Goodbye, Maya." And then he was gone. The last shard shattered on its own, releasing a soft light that drifted into the clouds. Maya fell to her knees, crying quietly. The sky above her cleared, revealing 1,000 bright stars. One of them glowed brighter than the rest, a soft blue star, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. She smiled through her tears. "I'll keep your promise," she whispered. "Always." She stood up, looking at the stars. The night was calm again. The queen was gone. The source was gone. But somewhere beyond the stars, Ethan's light still watched over her, and over the world he died to protect. As she walked away from the cliff, a soft wind brushed past her, carrying a faint voice only she could hear. "You did well, Maya." And she smiled, knowing, deep inside, that love had defeated even the power of the universe.